I've never seen anything like it. The barrage. I think they've spent $38 million on negative ads. How am I getting these poll numbers, Sarah? What's going on? You know, the truth is, the people of this country are smart. They get it.
Donald Trump taking on the establishment for taking him on with these costly attack ads. Now, someone here says with more primaries ahead on Tuesday, establishment types in the GOP should stop the fighting and save all that money for the general election. Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Bowling. Welcome to Cashing In, our Cashing In crew this week. Jonathan Hoenig, Rebecca Berg, Gina Loudon, and Juan Williams. Welcome, everybody. Michelle Fields isn't here today, but we look forward to having her back on soon. Now, Rebecca, should Republicans keep spending cash to stop Trump or save it and spend it on the Democrats?
Well, Eric, it's not necessarily mutually exclusive, right? Because Republicans have plenty of money. A lot of donors have been sitting on the sidelines for much of this Republican primary, watching and waiting to see what happens with Donald Trump. Only now are they really starting to spend tens of millions of dollars attacking him. So I would argue that they could do both. But if you look at the spending against Donald Trump so far, what is so interesting is that much of it really hasn't been effective. This has been an election cycle where super PAC money has not really made an impact. And so it will be interesting to see, especially if Donald Trump is the nominee, if this trend continues into the general election as well. What
do you say, Gina? Do you think this money would be better spent on a Democrat?
Oh, absolutely. I think the money would be better spent if they built a retirement home maybe for the GOP establishment with some golf privileges, because they're forecasting spending $200 million against their own candidate, which looks pretty much inevitable at this point, Eric. So it really is nonsensical at this point, and I think it says a lot more about their focus on their unwillingness to be wrong and their unwillingness to give up their cushy appointments and retirements and things like that than it does about their commitment to winning the next election.
The nomination isn't over. I mean, the nomination isn't over. It is likely going to be a contested convention. So, of course, people are willing to spend to stand up for their principles, to stand up for their ideas. And I think to these folks' credit, Eric, they're not putting party ahead of anything. They're standing up for these ideas and principles that they hold sacrosanct, and that's why they're willing to oppose even who at this point is the GOP frontrunner.
And would they therefore rather have a Hillary? I mean, because you're going to have to spend a lot of money taking on the Democrat as well.
I certainly would, Eric. I mean, I think Trump, for my opinion, I think Trump would be inexorably worse than Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders in the presidency if you care about capitalism and the future of this country.
Okay, Juan, what about it? You must be loving it on the Democrat side. Look at all this infighting going on, the establishment versus the Trump types. Cruz is jumping in the middle of it. They're all spending a bunch of money. No one's going to have any money left to take on, your girl, Hillary.
I don't know if she's my girl, but I will say this. There's a lot of money out there, and don't worry, I think Republicans will have money. But the question, Eric, is this sort of premature on your part, this argument? Because, as was pointed out earlier, we still have a Republican primary process going on, and some people don't like Donald Trump. I think right now it's a quarter of Republicans who say they will not vote for Trump under any circumstance, about 40% who say they'd consider a third party. So what you have is a Republican establishment not going off to the golf course, as Gina was saying, which was, I think, hilarious, but they're worried about maintaining control of the Senate, about their majority in the House. They're worried about the damage to the GOP brand being done with a gender gap that puts women way out of reach for Republicans going forward.
Right. I'm going to bring it around, but I've been on record saying that I think Trump is on a trajectory to actually get 1237, maybe even 1300 if he keeps up the same rate of success. But if let's just say he doesn't get there, I'll start with you, Jonathan. If he doesn't get to 1237, he gets to 1236, you're okay with a contested convention at that point?
Well, Eric, I don't have a whiteboard, but I'm okay with people standing up and supporting the ideas that they believe in. And I think it's great that people aren't simply willing to get in line and support a frontrunner if those ideas are anathema to them. And I'll tell you, I mean, Donald Trump, I know he's supposed to be representing capitalism, free markets. A lot of people cannot get behind someone who advocates for tariffs or banning journalists from their events. So despite being the frontrunner of this party...
The question was, if he doesn't get quite to 1237, and here it is, 1236, you're okay to contest that convention?
Well, Eric, I'll be voting for Bernie or Hillary if Trump's the nominee, so absolutely.
Okay. All right, well, that's interesting. Oh, by the way, the whiteboard hasn't been wrong yet. Gina, what about you? Talk to me a little bit about, all this money being spent going into a contested convention. At the end of the day, if they do contest a front runner like this and then put someone else in, Was that money wasted?
Well, absolutely, and it will fragment the party irreparably. At this point in the game, let's not forget that Trump is leading by such a wide margin that at this point, I think Cruz would have to get something like 90% of the remaining votes even to have a chance. And after Arizona, those numbers will be even slimmer. Kasich, on the other hand, has to get like 110. So there's no question he's only in this
like
for
the establishment.
purposes.
Now you all guys sound like the establishment, like, oh, this outsider, this long shot, he could never do that. To me, that sounds like more of the establishment.
No, this is about we the people versus they the elite. And if you're saying you're willing to vote for Bernie Sanders over a Donald Trump, that tells me it is still about they the elite versus we the people, because we the people are not going to sit down this time.
All right, so Juan, you know the
people.
You know the cat who ate the canary. You know the whole that smile is on his face. That's what you're doing right here. I'm watching two people on the right who are very good conservatives arguing that they can't vote for a conservative or they wouldn't vote for an. It's crazy. You must be loving this, Democrats.
No, let me just tell you. First of all, I disagree with Gina. I think it's Trump and Trump's appeal and Trump's demagoguery that split the Republican Party. It's not anybody else. But the second thing is, I'm not some happy canary, because, Eric, you and I have discussed this as pals, but you know what? Hats off to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has done something that the political insiders have not seen in generations. People don't understand it. And believe me, he can bring the same magic to a general election. Democrats would be like shell-shocked. How is he getting this media attention for free? How is he managing to bring out new voters? How is he managing to galvanize potentially the Republican base? That could defeat Bernie Sanders or Hillary.
Let me give the last word to Rebecca on that. How is he doing that, Rebecca?
It's a great question, and Eric, actually no one has really figured it out. He has this amazing dominance among, in terms of earned media, and so that's a big part of it. But in terms of his formula for getting this attention, his success, the recipe is kind of a secret at this point still. And that's part of the challenge for someone like Hillary Clinton, if we're talking about a general election matchup, is that it's really difficult to strategize around Trump because he's so unpredictable. No one really knows what his secret sauce has been, except we talk about it in terms of his populist appealing to the working white class. But it's more than that. And so I will be very interested if it does come to a general election matchup between them. And I'll be interested to see what she does.
I just want to throw this out here. You mentioned earned media. Earned media is the media talking about Donald Trump versus him putting up an ad, paying for an ad. In the earned media, there's a lot of misconception about that. It's not just because he's on air, it's not all positive. There are times where he is just getting trashed on air, and that's technically earned media. It's not all one-sided, right?
That's true. But even when you're taking into account the negative and the positive, he far exceeds all of the other candidates in terms of earned media. And it helps to be in the conversation, frankly, whether it's good news or bad news. If no one else is talking about anyone but you, it's really hard for these other candidates to break through.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you very much.